In the last 24 hours, white shark Ormond, a subadult male, has pinged in from the northeast Gulf of Mexico. This is kind of a surprise because we haven't heard or received a location from Ormond's spot tag since November 4th of 2024 when he was off North Carolina. It's not actually that uncommon for our white sharks tagged in the Atlantic to move into the Gulf of Mexico during this overwintering period. As a matter of fact, we've just submitted a paper for publication on that very subject, the extent at which white sharks are utilizing this area and how important it is. So what we found basically was that of all the sharks we've tagged in the Atlantic, and that includes ones tagged in Canada, off Massachusetts, and in the southeast US, 62% of them have spent some time in the Gulf of Mexico or the Straits of Florida during the overwintering period. So it tells us that this part of their habitat or their range, the Gulf of Mexico that is really, really important. We don't know exactly what's drawing them there to travel that far, but it's quite likely that the abundant food is a part of the story. Now, the area that Ormond is moving toward right now is just east of the DeSoto Canyon. And that area up in the northeast, there's sort of a deep water little channel into the panhandle of Florida. We know that can be a very productive area. There's eddies and upwellings that create localized areas of productivity, which can concentrate smaller fish, which can concentrate bigger fish. The types of fish and prey and dolphins and other things, the types of things that white sharks may get attracted to. So Ormond's movement is definitely not all that unusual. What's a little unusual is the fact that our last ping from Ormond was in November 4th off North Carolina. And we've got this big gap in time and space before he sent us another location up in the northeast. So why that is hard to say for sure. It's possible that Ormond during that gap at that period of time simply wasn't spending much time at the surface, such that the spot tag could give us a signal. It's also possible that Ormond's tag has some biofouling or marine growth on it during that period that was preventing it from transmitting, because it can mess with the tag's functionality. But then something may have changed when it got into the Gulf. Perhaps some of that algae could have sloughed off the tag, and that's now allowing it to transmit. And then if you look at Ormond's spot track since he was tagged in 2022, there's no evidence of him moving into the Gulf of Mexico in years past. But Ormond also received an acoustic tag. And we know Ormond's acoustic tag was detected by a number of different underwater receivers in the northern Gulf this past winter. Now, these underwater receivers, or listening stations, if you will, are deployed by various researchers studying a number of different marine species using these acoustic tags. The ones that detected Ormond happen to be from Delaware State University, Texas A&M, University of Florida, University of South Florida, as well as FWC. And all these detections, regardless of what species, gets shared among researchers through a collaborative network. So this is really a good example of why we deploy more than one tag type on a single white shark. These different tag types all have their strengths and weaknesses in terms of the data that we can get from them. But by double tagging or even triple tagging a white shark with different tag types, we can maximize what we learn from every shark we handle and tag. White sharks like Ormond that utilize the Gulf of Mexico during the overwintering period largely stay confined to the eastern half of the Gulf of Mexico, in particular around the continental shelf edge, where water really drops off. Those slope areas tend to be areas where the white sharks concentrate, probably because of food sources. But we also see evidence of our tagged white sharks utilizing the north central Gulf and even the western Gulf, and even in the southwest. We have one move into Mexican coastal waters. So they definitely utilize the Gulf fairly broadly, but there is a tendency for much more activity on the eastern side, more so than the west.